Okay, the book that we are taking is called Mu'awana wal Muzahara wal Mu'azara, which means the treaties of mutual assistance. Mu'awana, mutual assistance. And Muzahara, which means mutual support. And Mu'azara, which means that you say mutual help. Right. And all these words, they relate one to another, right? You can see the right, and all these words relate one to another, right? And the thing about about studying the title first, right? So for every book, we will always begin by looking at the title first. Then we look at the author, right? Then we read the muqaddimah, it means the foreword by the author, so as to know what is the author's reason that why he wrote this book. Right? Because there are a lot of Islamic books out there, right? And you say Islam, the knowledge has been there, of course, since the time of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And so, like why there's so many books? You will say that, right? It's the same knowledge. It's one and the same knowledge for all of the books. And in fact, in the book, The Quest for Virtuous Character, the Habib Muhammad al-Haddad, he himself says that he knows there's so many books out there about character. Right, so why one more book? Why write one more book? And he gave his reasons, as to why he wrote one more book from the character. Right, so and so especially in the Arabic literature, you find so many books, mashallah. Right, in English, we are kind of really lagging and lacking. We're lagging and we are lacking in our English books, right, to serve the community. Nowadays, it's kind of getting better, alhamdulillah, right? But it's because like most of our scholars in the English world, uh, most of them are occupied teaching because of the number of scholars. And it's so few that everyone's occupied teaching. So the production of books, takes a lot of effort. Yeah, so in a sense, I think the English world is like catching up. Not catching up. We can't catch up to everything. But we're getting more books in. Mashallah, because of the need of the English speaking world. Right, that they need the books to hold on to. Right. So this is how we begin with every book. We go to the title, we go to the sheikh that who wrote it, we will read his muqaddimah. And that is what we'll aim for today. Right, so inshallah, then the next lesson I'll go straight into the first chapter. Right, so I want, if you see my speaker and the book assistants, I think I have had more than 10 or less than 10 lessons. And I'm still on the inch. Okay, mashallah. So you can teach this book and you can take a long time to do it. Or you can just go quickly and show it. Right? So there's basically two ways of it. Right? So Bismillah. So when he said mu'awana mudahara mu'azara, right? Mutual assistance, right? Mutual support and mutual help. And these words they seem to work together. Right? And the thing about in Arabic is that these words they come from all angles of assistance. Right? So and this is from the humility of Imam al-Haddad, right? That he's not saying that, I'm telling you what to do. But okay, we're going through some advices, through some words, right? That we help each other out on this. It's from his humility, right? That he's not saying, I'm a sheikh and I'm telling you what to do. But on the sense that he's going in an angle whereby he's saying that, he's struggling with it too, he's not, but it's just like he's showing as if he himself is going through these things. Right? So we help each other out as we go through life. In a sense, mashallah. And here he says, لِلرَّاغِبِينَ مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ فِي سُلُوكِ طَرِيقِ الْآخِرَةِ. It is the full title. And it says المعاونة والمظاهرة والمؤازرة للراغبين من المؤمنين في سلوك طريق الآخرة. So the full title means the book, the treatise of mutual assistance, mutual support, mutual help for those who desire, right? For those who desire from amongst the Muslims or the believers, from amongst believers, to tread the path of the hereafter. Right? So when I learned this book, Nur, Umar's wife, when I learned this book with her, she would always emphasize on this first part. It is for those who desire. So if you don't desire to go through this path to the hereafter, if you're not concerned about your hereafter, then this book is not for you. And this book is for those who are seriously, like they seriously want to know, they seriously want to get their life right. right? And right in a sense whereby they're focused on what's going to happen after this life, right? So people who are focused. So if someone's gonna play around, right, then this will stop already. Right? So rather even you truly desire, right, to get to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right, by the end of your life, inshallah. And so what his advice in his book will all revolve around our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Like us as Muslims, our belief system, our the state of our heart while we worship. Right. So it's not even specific to a particular madhab, right? Because it's just the inward, right? The inward. Then how you interact with other people, right? Then and so on and so forth. Which is the reason of members. Right. So it's by Imam al-Haddad. Right. I'm just gonna say something about Imam al-Haddad, a few things about Imam al-Haddad. Right. So Imam al-Haddad, his name is a very brief intro to him. So he's one of the saints in Hadramaut, right, in Delhi. He is buried in Zambal. So you can find it to go to Zambal. There is the Saqaf al-Haddad. Right, so you go to Zambal, you go through Al-Faqih al-Muqaddam first, right? Then you enter, you go to Zambal. So, okay, now we right, inshallah. But you've not gone to Zambal, no one brought you there. Okay, mashallah. I'll bring an Awashi ways in the next stay. Okay, in Zambal. Okay, no, inshallah. Your husband is here.
Yes, yes.
With the men, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
I was telling him to take me, but we just haven't had a chance. But also, I wanted to go with someone who can
guide him, yeah, explain stuff.
He doesn't know enough yet to like.
Mashallah. Like, I'll be you.
Just have been already.
Yeah, mashallah, mashallah. The one of the Asr times is the best time to go. It's the time.
Okay.
Or morning. Not many people are there. So that's some of the morning ones there. Because you just go there. Whichever I'll bring you. So his name is هو سيد الإمام العلامة الداعي إلى الله بقوله وفعله قطب الإرشاد الحبيب عبد الله بن علوي بن محمد الحداد. Right, so he's our Sayyid, right? He's our leader, the Imam, the scholar, the one who calls to Allah in his states and in his words. Right, he is a Qutub, meaning they are of the highest level awliya. Right, so now you're in Hadramaut, right? You're probably very exposed to the awliya, the world of the awliya, right? And you will hear a lot of stories, on the karamat, right? So basically the miracles, right, around the awliya. Right, so there's something that unfortunately in the West, right, that people sometimes they get skeptical about it. I like it. I like it. All this stuff. Yeah, but I do find that when you try and bring this back, you gotta know your audience. Yes, must know your audience. Right? So there are people who are like, oh, are you sure all this stuff? Are you sure this actually happened? This kind of thing. And the answer is why not? That Allah is powerful over everything. So it's not impossible that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed for some things to happen. It's possible. Allah wants it, He wants it. It's not, you can't say, oh, not possible. If Allah wants it, khalas. It can be that. So Imam al-Haddad is a kutub meaning they're the highest ranking of the awliya. Right? So in every zaman, every era, right, there is always a kutub. Right? And you see that the chiefs of the awliya, the highest of them. Right? His name is Abdullah bin Alawi bin Muhammad al-Haddad. Right? He was born, on the outskirts of Delhi. Right? And from a very young age, he lost his eyesight. He was blind. And the story behind was that he had a fever. Had a fever. And his uncle from his mother's side, right, who was called, his uncle, they would describe him to be Majzub. Right? So Majzub, they are the kinds of awliya, they do strange things. So they're not this kind of awliya whereby they have Umar in front of the people, they are guiding, they're teaching, so there are different types of awliya following the different types of prophets. So you have prophets that are really upfront, in front of the people, and they are, guiding people. Like Nabi Musa, Nabi Isa, Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? They are the people who are like that. So the awliya, the words of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they are those who inherit the prophets. So as with the roles of different prophets, right, the awliya will take on the same way of doing that. Right, so the art of the awliya, they use baris, meaning that they're so prominent in front of the people, right? So they pull people to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You say loudly, right? So they have it Omar, prominent. It's a prominent wali, right? So and you know that they are awliya because the things that happen, at their hands that Allah has allowed to happen is phenomenal. Like when he just began, he was a small class in his house, a small few students, and there was a boom. Like these are all signs of Allah's assistance. And Allah has sent the wealth, Allah has sent the help and so on. And then there are of the awliya who are quiet. So they're called mastun, and they're hidden. And they're around, and you don't know who they are. So in Hadramaut, like they could be on the streets walking around. We don't know that they are the awliya. And it's because of them that punishment does not come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So people are all in sin, sinful and so on. This awliya who are around, they're making constant dua, right, for the people. Right? So there are also prophets, but you will say nabis. And so the prominent ones will be rasuls. And the rasuls are prominent. Right? The nabis are not prominent. So we know that Allah has sent 125 or 24,000 nabis all over the world. For the rasuls, it's about 313 rasuls all over the world. So we only know 25 of the rasuls, right? But Allah has sent 124,000 all over the world. So we don't know who they are because they are not prominent. So amongst the awliya, they are like them. They are useful like that. Then you have prophets like Nabi Khidr. So Nabi Khidr, in the story of Nabi Khidr, Nabi Musa in Surah Ghafir, you find that he does kind of like strange things. He went on the ship, he bought a ship, and they went past a boy, he killed the boy, right? And then they went to a town, and the people were mean to them, then he helped them build a wall, right? In a sense, he does things that people don't understand. Then at the end of the story, he explains to Nabi Musa, why he was doing what he was doing, right? And there are of the awliya that follow in that name, and they are called majzub, right? Whereby they do strange things. So you don't know what they're doing, but they're doing the work that Allah has set them to do. So this uncle of Imam al-Haddad, he's one of those. Majzub. The uncle is. Right, so they call them the people in the town will consider these kind of people crazy, but they are in a state. But it is like a wilaya, they are there. They're in a state. So what his uncle did was that when he was only barely 4 years old and he was having a high fever, the uncle took some oil and poured the oil all over Imam Haddad as a young boy, and that caused for his eyesight to go. He became good. By the actions of his uncle, he became good. Right. So, but when Allah, when the eyesight was taken away from him, Allah opened up for him the eye of his heart, and he began to be able to see into things that nobody else understood. MashaAllah. And it could be the uncle was protecting him from the sins like around him, so he was pure when Haddad. MashaAllah. And he has been given, help from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from a very young age. Right? Every single day when he was a young boy, at the age of 8 or 9, every single time, every morning he would go for his Quran lessons at the Masjid Sian Tariq. And after his lessons, he would go to Masjid Ali or different other masjids and pray up to 200 rakats at 9 years old. So you say, wali. This is not normal. And the 200 rakats is not forced. But because he's so grateful for the Quran that Allah has taught him during his Quran lessons, that he's compelled into prayer. Right? So it's not even like forcing himself to do 200. He's like he's just so overwhelmed by gratitude that he just prays on and on up till 200. Then he only stops because he has to go home. MashaAllah. And you're thinking, how do you fit 200 rak'ahs in the morning? Can fit 200 in the morning? Right? It's on awliya timing.
Exactly.
It's a different thing. So you can see that the help from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala since the way. So it's not they are not like me and you. Maybe you but not me. I'm so sure. But really it's when you read the stories so when you read about them, we know these are very special people of Allah.
Mm.
So we take their books. We know that we can trust what they say. And that is why we learn about them. We trust what they say. Inshallah. Right. So he has many stories about him. He was one of the great scholars in Hadramaut, but during his lifetime, people were not aware of his greatness in his lifetime. Right. So to the point whereby, if someone were to come and look for Imam al-Haddad, right, his very own neighbors would say, "Oh, the blind man over there, right, the old blind man down the road, right? Yes." It's not.
Yes.
Is it my house? I don't know. To the next house. No, which house is even not?
Yeah, me neither.
Hey, there's not really. Whose house?
Assalamualaikum. How are you? Good, how are you? Nice to see you. I heard you guys were having a
Yeah, session.
so I came to intrude.
And I was looking like neighbors. Just having a few more. I think because I tuned into the area. So how it's starting to release at 10 minutes. So I do but inshallah next time our classes will be 1 hour flat.
Okay.
7 to 8. I'm gonna try to keep it 7 to 8 flat. So 1 hour full because she wants to khatam the books, she wants to finish the books before she leaves. So it's about 1 hour flat of study. So we're doing the book assistance. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. I'll be dying to do this study.
Inshallah. So we just began with the introduction. I mentioned that. So let's mention a few stories of what we want to share. It's a stories that mashallah, it shows his level and his station with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So there's one story.
A lot of fun, especially
Actual kids.
So sorry. Please forgive me.
She knows,
Carry on.
she knows the knocking. I know who's that one.
Footsteps, footsteps.
Children. Okay, so the first story that I can share with you, right, is that what Imam al-Haddad, there was once he was teaching. Okay, so anyway, you would say people did not realize his position with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only after his death. Then people realized the greatness of Imam al-Haddad. So in his lifetime, and it was also because of his humility, right, that people just never realized, he kept it to himself. Yeah, and to the point, inshallah, I'll bring you to his house. His house is preserved in Tarim. Have you been there? So I'll bring you yes, so Imam al-Haddad's mosque is still here, preserved, the original place. It's really small, right? So and I used to bring it around Ziyarah. When I was here a long time ago.
Yeah.
Like I would just bring people to do Ziyarah and do long. She's not going anywhere. She's not going to somewhere. So we're gonna bring her.
She's like such a thirst for knowledge, mashallah. That's right. When you went to Ziyarah, you were well.
Yeah, because I was unwell. Oh, so I just haven't had this time. I came. Just gonna bring her around.
You need to request Salam to do another.
Yeah, another Ziyarah.
Yeah.
Or small, like a smaller, and you kind of get to see more and get to understand more and stuff like that. So if you go to his house, right, all the way in, if you go in Ham, somewhere in Darim, go to his house, right? So his house is really, you know how the Hadramis are, their houses go vertically. If you've seen traditional Hadrami houses. So if you come to any house, right, there'll be a staircase, probably no room on the first floor, on the ground floor. I mean, like a small space of sorts. Then a very narrow staircase up. Most of the houses are like this. Then you have a room, right? And there's a bathroom attached to it, right? Then never attached. They always have the bathrooms face. If you notice that they never have a master bedroom because it's basically that the bathroom is the place of the jinn. So they never have the bathroom open up into a bedroom. It's never the case. So they will have it next to the master bedroom, but never not into the master bedroom. So the jinn don't run in and out and cause, havoc amongst husband and wife. This is, and mashallah, in the West, like we always have like in Singapore, our master bedrooms, there was always have an attached bathroom to it. And I used to wonder why not a single house, has a bathroom that opens up into the bedroom. Right? Then when Hawaba came to Singapore, she was like, "Why is your bathroom opening up into the bedroom?" And I was like, "What's wrong?" The jin's going back and forth. Close the door. Mashallah, like we're just so used to how we do things. Subhanallah. So the house like that. So the first floor is like a small room. Then they have like a narrow staircase again to a higher floor whereby the women live. Usually that's the way. So the first floor is where the guests will come, and it's a higher one whereby the women stay, and it's the kitchen there and so on. Right, so usually it's a very narrow, kind of like a structure. For most houses, if you've been to Habib Bashir's house, you will see it. And you have it in that way. It's very traditional. So if I bring to his house, inshallah, I'll bring to his house, right? There is so when you enter his house, so connected to his house is his original masjid, and it's really small, and probably smaller than this apartment. My apartment is smaller than the masjid. So it's like probably this room, maybe a bit more than the masjid. So it's attached to his house. He built it. This is how they are. They are poor, but they will spend all their wealth for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Like for us to even think of building a masjid, build a masjid. But they're like, any wealth they have, give to Allah, even if your masjid the size of a room, it's a masjid. It's a masjid. So he gave that. But now the masjid they have renovated is huge right now. Right? They made it huge and beautiful and mashallah. Right? But they preserved the original size of the masjid, mashallah. So when you enter his house, you will see a small area by the side. That is where he prays his sunnahs. Because it's sunnah to pray your sunnah not in front of the people. Because it removes you from arrogance. Right? So it's sort of if you can, do your sunnah separate. Right? Then the fard at the masjid. Now this brings you away from arrogance, showing off. The sunnah of doing that. Right? So he'll pray his sunnahs there, then he'll go to the masjid that is near his house, next to his house, then he'll pray Jama'ah there. Right? So this is a place that's there in his house. So inshallah when we go there, just go when you're able to to bring your menses, you can avoid the menstruation. And I can bring around to the other masjids in Tarim. A full masjid ziyarah. Nice all, you can go very easily. In the mornings, there's no one there. Just bring around. And then, so I was mentioning this because when you go up his house, there is a staircase landing. It is literally the size like this. Is this size, this square. That was where he held his classes. He only had 2 students. MashaAllah. So he will sit there, he's blind, and you have 2 students in front of him, studying from him. And so there was once one of the students said to the other guy, he said, "Our Imam or Sheikh is an amazing Sheikh. We should tell the whole world about him. He's like an ocean of knowledge." And then I was like, "Shh, keep it to ourselves." For him. MashaAllah. But it was also from his sincerity. He did not want popularity in his lifetime. So Allah gave him popularity after he fasted. MashaAllah. And he was to the point whereby he was so afraid of the day of judgment and questioning the day of judgment that he had made a dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like to have him, to not have to answer for any of the risk that comes his way, all of the provision that Allah gives, not to answer for it. So at the point of his death, he was only skin and bones. Right? So even the fat that was inside of him and everything was all thrown out, removed. This is like, well, they're out there. So it's like we are like, okay, what's the answer for every kg? It's like, he's skin and bones at the point of his death. And he's blind. So even the sense of the eye completely not there. And there was one story whereby he was teaching, and a man walked in, right? And this man, he saw that the Imam Haddad was blind, he was teaching him this, right? Blind. And then in his heart, it occurred, he said to himself, what kind of teacher is this who's blind? So the heart, you can't do this with the limit. And you will be called out on it. Somebody is very that's like it seems like he was straight. So he was saying in his heart, this man been teaching is blind. Right. So thereafter when they were doing like they were doing salam to each other, the Imam Haddad held on to this man's hand. And he's blind, held on to his hand. Then he said to the man, there is a napkin in your pocket, and in this napkin is a dead fly. You have to remove it before you pray because it's najis. And the man was like, what? He checked his pocket, and there was a napkin, and in it there was a dead fly. And so he knew that Imam Haddad was kind of informing him. Don't think I can't see. Just because I can't see my eyes, don't think I can't see. I can see deeper than what you guys can see. Mashallah. And many, many stories about Imam Haddad, and his position, his ranking. And one last story before we end our class. Now into the first part of what he reads here, of what he says here. Is that there was Imam Al Haddad, right? He's so poor but generous, mashallah. And he used to have a mawlid, right, every year and he would feed the people, right? But because he's poor, the food that he serves, and it's not all that. It's kind of you say it's poor food, not poor, but in a sense it's simple, simple. So there's a story about a man who went for the Maulid when Umar had died, right? And he kind of looked down on the food, right, of the Maulid. Poor people's food. Like it's tasteless and kind of simple. So the man was like, okay, you know what, he was thinking to himself, after the Maulid, I'm going to invite myself like, for my own, nafsu food, and whatever he desires. So after the Maulid, Imam Al-Haddad, the man wanted to leave, and the Imam was like, stay, there's food, we're gonna serve the food for the Maulid. And the man was like, nah, it's okay, I'm in a hurry, I'm gonna go off. So he goes off and he goes to his restaurant, was it? So what happened was that, this man he ate his food and he had a terrible stomach ache. That was excruciating. Right? The next day he went and he searched for people, for some form of medication or whatsoever, and he went to every like doctor or person that he knew that could help him, and no one could help him remove the pain in his stomach. Then one of them said, you should eat the food of Al Haddad. Right? There's barakah in there. Right? This is Malik food, there's barakah in there. And he was like, what? I'm sure there's no more. There's no design left, right? Because it was yesterday's morning. And then the guy just going to ask him, let me have some food somewhere. So the guy goes, but he's no choice. His tummy was hurting him. So he went to Imam Al Haddad, and then he said, like, I heard, like this, I had this pain in my tummy, like, could you help me? And Imam Al Haddad said, the knowledge will be good for you. It's barakah in it. So when you look at his pot, you know how when you cook rice, right? There's a black rice at the bottom. When you cook rice on a fire, the whole like crust or whatever is at the bottom, right? So there was no more rice, but there was this black stuff. So Imam Al Haddad scraped it out and he said, this is all I have left. I eat it, inshallah, by Allah's barakah, you will be cured. And so the man had to eat the crust, and he was cured. MashaAllah. So it's just Allah teaching that this guy, don't look down on the food of Al Haddad. This is barakah food. So when you come to a majlis and like, what kind of food are they serving? It's so simple, or just porridge, or just this, or just that. Don't you dare do that to any of the awliya, or any Muslim, in fact, any human being. Right, so inshallah, the next lesson I'll begin straight here. So we're gonna go straight back to the beginning. So if you can get your book.
I could just ask you, Mustafa, that I might be staying for another month. Mashallah, because I'm trying to speak to my job and ask them if I can be here when I want to work.
Mashallah.
But I'm going to reply today, tomorrow, maybe.
mashallah.
So I will let you know. I might have like until Ramadan.
Yes. Sleep mo yan yan. No, and Tarim is ready,
So
mashallah.
then you don't have to rush
Yeah.
that much.
Inshallah, 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 inshallah. Daruzaha does this in one semester, in 1 year. Daruzaha.
Okay.
And almost daily classes.
Um,
But yeah, but it's doable. It's doable. You can finish the persistence quickly. Really well.
are you meeting every day or how many?
Yeah, I'm trying to have except on the Maulid nights. So Maulid, yeah, I'll arrange, but probably this timing. Yeah, after Isha for an hour. Inshallah.
So the Maulid day nights are on Thursday.
Who's Thursday?
Okay.
Yeah,
So Thursday nights.
Thursday no class now.
But we were talking about maybe we're gonna try and do this
And we say that Fatima Zahra.
and
Big
for
video.
3 days and the 2 days maybe
Mhm.
3 days.
This so the necklace of pearls on the left of the Zahra. Yeah. So this is also in English. You can find the English.
Is it the one with the necklace of pearls?
Yes, 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 yes. So we're gonna study this. They used to teach this. MashaAllah. So MashaAllah. We're doing بارك الله فيكم وأنا وفاة وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم رب العالمين سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم